Executive Order 14321. Professor Poutine here, time for Mysteries Histories. Nominally titled Ending Crime and Disorder on America's Streets. Sounds like a good thing. This is the executive order that's being used by the National Guard and ICE and police to sweep the homeless people off the streets in Washington, D.C. and maybe in Memphis and Chicago and St. Louis, wherever else the Trump administration decides to go. And you might be sitting there thinking, well, I'm not homeless, so I don't care. There's a few sentences in there you probably should be aware of, and if you don't believe me, I put the link in my bio below. You can read it for yourself. There is a sentence in there that authorizes the reversal of state and federal precedents against involuntary incarceration. And it encourages all the federal agencies that are executing this particular order to target chronic drug users, the mentally ill, and the homeless. And they are to put those people into, quote, appropriate facilities for an appropriate amount of time. Now, you might be thinking that's a great idea. Put them into a treatment facility, put them into a hospital, put them into a halfway home. If need be, I guess we could put them into a mental institution or a prison. Yeah, but the executive order also says that if there's no room in a mental hospital or a treatment facility or prison, quote, this executive order ensures that those individuals are not to be released back into the public, end quote. Well, where are we going to put them? Oh, right, Alligator Alcatraz. Good thing we built those concentration camps. And again, you may be saying, yeah, but I'm not homeless. I'm not a chronic drug user. Maybe not. But have you ever sought treatment for alcohol addiction or any other addiction? Have you ever sought medical treatment for anxiety or depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, any other mental illness? Know anybody that has? Because this executive order also authorizes the federal government to hand over the medical records of anybody who might be in need of, quote, involuntary incarceration, end quote. And just as an aside, ICE about a month ago received access to the medical records of all 79 million people on Medicaid. Normally, this is to go after undocumented migrants, but since most undocumented migrants don't use Medicaid, what do you think ICE is searching those medical records for?
We have some breaking news. What if the government could lock you up just for being different or for having a different opinion? Trump just signed an executive order that lets states force people into treatment centers against their will if local authorities act on it. The public thinks this is about homelessness, but it's not just that. The homelessness issue seems to be a distraction from the real purpose of this order. The order says anyone deemed mentally ill and unable to care for themselves could be institutionalized even if they have a home. No jury, no trial, just a government official deciding you're a risk. Trump's DOJ was even told to overturn court rulings that protect your right to refuse confinement. Civil rights groups say this could be used to silence protesters, whistleblowers, or anyone the government wants to disappear. There's no new money for care, no limits on who decides, just a pen and power, and Trump is wielding that pen. This isn't a homelessness policy, guys. It's a blueprint for control and fear.
I just can't stop thinking about this. The Attorney General shall, quote, assess federal resources to determine whether they may be directed toward ensuring, to the extent permitted by law, that detainees with serious mental illnesses are not released into the public because of a lack of forensic bed capacity at appropriate local, state, and federal jails or hospitals. What in the hell does this mean? Warehousing people? Using those billions of dollars in the new detention facilities to disappear people living in poverty? We're already seeing reckless human rights violations, violations of due process for undocumented people, as well as those with citizenship. So how are we supposed to believe this administration will follow any sort of principles related to preventing human rights violations when it comes to this plan for the unhoused? I can't even describe the level of rage that I feel. I may, at this point in this video, have a rage rash on my neck. I don't know. I hope I do, because I want people to see the rage here, because I hope you feel it too. I hope you know that you're not alone. Under the guise of public safety, this administration is prepared to amp up their assaults on human and civil rights. And so this is what they want. They want to push more people into poverty. They want to push people living in poverty out of sight in the form of involuntary commitment for poverty, or by tossing them away in a cage. And they want the rest of us to accept it. I don't. I reject the propaganda that tells me that there's something unique and special about me that allows me to live in a house and not on the street. I'm lucky. I'm no different than anyone who's living on the street, and I know that I'm not immune from ending up there myself should enough tragedy happen in my life.